Listen, the more we know about sickle cell disease, the more we can all do to better support people dealing with this invisible condition. Want to watch this conversation again? Tune in tonight on Fox Soul. Thanks for watching, and be sure to be the reason why someone smiles.
Well, welcome in. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for streaming along here with me. We've got a lot of news to get to on your Tuesday afternoon. One of the stories just into our newsroom I do want to get to let you know about is that a Baldwin County magistrate judge and DUI attorney has actually been arrested for DUI. We have a photo of his mugshot just into our newsroom. This is Shane M. Geeter. He's 71 years old, and police say that, or Georgia State Patrol officials rather, say he was pulled over on Georgia 212 in a white Volvo after troopers noticed he was seen failing to stay in his lane. According to the booking report, Geeter is charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and failure to maintain his lane. He was released on a $1,000 bond around 1 a.m. Sunday, and that's according to jail records. His law firm website says he specializes in DUI cases, and he works as a Baldwin County magistrate judge as well. He was booked into the Baldwin County Jail around 9:42 that Saturday night. So we'll continue to keep you updated as this story progresses. But in the meantime, I want to let you know where we stand with an escaped inmate from Rockdale County, still on the run this afternoon. Our Angelique Proctor's been digging into this story, and Angelique, it's really incredible because at this point, you know, I know we had not spoken with Rockdale County about how he managed to escape. You were able to speak with Lieutenant this afternoon, so curious about that. But you know, at this point, he's taken an Uber home, this inmate. He seems to be going about town, and I think a lot of people are curious, are we making progress towards catching him? He is considered armed and dangerous.
Well, you know, the big question, good afternoon to you, Ariel. The big question that I had is someone helping him to move around, because it takes so much to catch an Uber. You have to have a debit card, you have to submit names and do all of these things in advance. So that is something that investigators tell us that they are looking at this point. How in the world did this escapee successfully catch this Uber? And then the Uber dropped him off at a home here in Rockdale County, in the southern part of Rockdale County, we are told. And this is where investigators are staging everything. We are here at the sheriff's office right now. Rockdale County sheriff officials have confirmed that escapee Timothy Shane did call that Uber while he was at the Publix grocery store, and that's on Highway 155 in Henry County, yet another location. They do have him on surveillance tape in that Uber. Now, he was dropped off at a Rockdale County home. As I said, they searched that home, but they did not find the 52-year-old suspect, who they say has a history of fleeing. Now, this investigation involves multiple agencies. Shane was last seen on videotape in Henry County, and that's where investigators discovered that stolen Grand Prix in that Publix grocery store parking lot. Now, they say it's actually the second car that he stole. The first was at Grady Hospital, where he had been taken for a mental health evaluation after a reported suicide attempt. Let's let the lieutenant pick it up from there.
We believe he's either tapping into his resources, people that are in the area, or he may have stolen a credit card, perhaps from the vehicle that he was in that Grand Prix. We just don't have enough information to say beyond a reasonable doubt that he's getting help from somebody.
And another question that I had, Ariel, is have they talked to the people where he was dropped off? And they tell me they are in the process of talking to those people, and they feel like they should get new leads of vital information from those people. Now, they did withhold that location from us, so they will not tell us where that house is so that we can then go talk to those people, but that is something that they are working on. And the very latest is that they believe Shane is still in that red hooded sweatshirt with blue pants, and they say he now has on shoes, because keep in mind, when this first started, he had on a jail jumpsuit and no shoes.
Angelique, you know, you're putting to rest a lot of questions I had, but I'm curious, when we were looking at the big question, how did he escape police custody at Grady? You know, Grady referred us to Rockdale County sheriffs and said, listen, it's not our responsibility to monitor an inmate. That is under the custody of the supervising police agency. Did Rockdale County tell you at all how he managed to escape their custody?
They haven't talked a lot about the specifics of that, but they did say that they had a deputy that was there with him and that he escaped. I do know that it was pretty much in the middle of the night, about 1:30 this morning. In fact, they said 1:20 he escaped, and right around 1:30 he was already stealing his first car. So you got to think things were very quiet then when he decided to seize his moment and escape Grady Hospital.
Yeah, Angelique, you know, another thing, very interesting that someone could be helping him. I am curious, if someone were to see this inmate, what should they do?
That is a very good question, because that is what Rockdale County deputies are asking us to ask the public. If you see him, to give them a call. Do not approach him. Do not try to have contact with him, but merely dial 911 and let them handle it. And they say they will be there in a matter of minutes and hopefully apprehend him. At this point, though, he has escaped them at several turns.
Angelique, thanks so much for the conversation, letting us know where we stand in this story. I know we're on day 2 of this inmate still being on the run, so hopefully we get new information soon as police continue their search. So Angelique, thanks so much. Okay, guys, we're going to move on here because I want to let you know about a story in Fayette County. Our Doug Evans has been following this one for us today, and it involves a rookie cop who was able to arrest someone after a police chase. Doug, you were speaking with police, and it turns out this man that they were chasing was also a felon.
Well, he was certainly wanted for felony crimes, Ariel. Rain has moved me inside, misting a little bit outside here in Fayette County this afternoon. Let me tell you about this. And this guy's name is Rashad Spann, and they pulled him over on Black Friday here in Fayette County on a traffic violation. They tell me that they had numerous traffic enforcement things going on for Black Friday, high presence of law enforcement out on the road. They stopped the guy. He's talking to him, and then he just drives off, and they get into this high-speed chase. Let's roll the videotape and show you. We're into the chase. It's already gone through back roads reminiscent of the Dukes of Hazzard, and is back out on the pavement, and is going, we're told, toward a commercial district on Black Friday, the Pavilion Shopping Center, big shopping center in Peachtree City, or rather in Fayetteville, I'm sorry. Pavilion Shopping Center is in Fayetteville, and they're headed toward that, and deputies figure that they've got to get this guy off the road, and so they perform the pit maneuver and they spin him out. And what the video will show is that he then abandons the car after it stops and runs across the roadway there. They had planned to at that point release some of their canines that were right there with them in the cars, but because a deputy was following so closely behind him, they couldn't do that. So it was up to their feet then to take this guy into custody, and apparently that is what happened. A rookie officer, a rookie sheriff's deputy with the Fayette County Sheriff's Department was able to make the arrest after a run, and they say that Rashad Spann had on him a Glock 29 10mm tucked in the waistband of his shirt. He did not make a play for it, they said. The officer was right there on top of him, watching him, and then they did take the gun away from him and then put him into custody. Here's what they found in the car. They say they found over 3 pounds of marijuana, as well as some other things, a gun that they're tracing back. But this is a guy who apparently has had some run-ins with the law, according to Fayette County Sheriff Barry Babb. Let's hear from him now on the criminal history of this guy that they know about.
He's wanted by another jurisdiction for credit card fraud, He has numerous open cases, felonies. He's got a lot of misdemeanor convictions, but so he's been very active in a short lifespan of 24 as an adult.
So Sheriff Barry Babb telling me he's pretty proud of his rookie deputy, Deputy Musgrave, just out of the academy, 2 weeks on the job, and not only is involved in this chase and the pit maneuver, but also in taking this guy off the streets. Rashad Spann charged with felony fleeing and eluding, also aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, possession of a firearm, possession of controlled substances with intent to distribute, obstruction of law officers, and hit and run. Apparently hit somebody during that chase as well. 3 pounds of marijuana, the Glock found on him as well. So he's facing some pretty stiff charges to add, apparently, to the charges that Sheriff Babb says are already pending on him. Not only was he a wanted felon somewhere else, but he's out on bond for other crimes.
Yeah, Doug, you know, it's really interesting. I'm curious, in case I missed it, and for those streaming along with us, did this chase, or when did this chase happen? When did that rookie cop perform the pit maneuver and take this guy down?
It was last Friday. It was Black Friday. Ariel.
That's right.
So,
okay.
So
busy day.
A lot of cars on the roadway, a lot of people out and about on a Black Friday.
Okay. And then, Doug, what's next for Rashad? You know, as this moves forward, he's arrested now. What's next in the process?
Well, Sheriff Barry Babb tells me they want to keep him. They want to keep him on his side of the Flint River, meaning they're not ready to give him up to the other jurisdictions that also want to lay claim to him right now. So they plan to keep him in the Fayette County Jail and prosecute him here for the crimes that he's committed. And you know, at some point, these other jurisdictions that also have charges against him will want him over there as well. I would think that if you're facing credit card fraud in one place and aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer at another place, this is the place over here that's going to take priority in the prosecution. Yeah,
that's a really good point. You know, one of the things I just want to highlight too before I let you go, always good to see when training pays off. You know, it's a rookie officer who was able to do this, and it's always great to see when that training pays off with no one hurt. You know, I think we cover a lot of stories where chases don't end in the best of circumstances and people do end up hurt. So it's good to see that this was a situation where the process worked and no one was harmed in the end.
Yeah, it's good for this deputy as well to start off his career with an attaboy from the sheriff himself, huh? Yeah, you know, I'm sure he's going to go home, feel pretty proud of himself, and hopefully carry that good energy as he continues to work and keep people safe. So, Doug, thanks so much for joining us, letting us know about this story. We appreciate your time. Okay, guys, we're going to move on here because I have a couple other national stories to let you know about. And one of the big ones involves the Justice Department is going to seek the death penalty in the attack on 2 National Guard officers in Washington, D.C. last week. They're going to seek the death penalty for the suspect involved. The West Virginia governor says National Guardsman Andrew Wolf, who was shot last week outside of a Washington subway station, is in serious condition, but he is showing some promising signs. The other victim, as you may remember, Sarah Beckstrom, died Thursday. The Trump administration is now taking a closer look at all the refugees from Afghanistan who came to the United States after the American troops withdrew from Afghanistan. We've seen a memorial with growing cards, pictures, flowers, and American flags in Washington, D.C. at the scene of the attack, honoring the memory of 20-year-old specialist Sarah Beckstrom, as well as West Virginia National Guard, or she was of the West Virginia National
Guard. And of course, it's also those tributes there for the National Guardsman you see on your right, who continues to fight at the hospital. We know that Sarah Beckstrom passed away on Thanksgiving Day after that attack Wednesday afternoon. It did happen in broad daylight, less than a mile from the White House. 24-year-old Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, critically wounded, and he's the one that the West Virginia governor says is showing hopeful signs of recovery. The governor said that Andrew was asked if he could hear the nurse who asked a question to give a thumbs up, and he did respond. The suspect, identified as an Afghan national who allegedly drove cross-country from Washington State to launch this attack in Washington, D.C. The White House ordering relevant agencies to take a closer look at Afghan immigrants now who came after that troop withdrawal, like I mentioned. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the suspect was likely radicalized here in the United States. President Trump says he's spoken with both National Guardsmen's families and describes them as devastated. He intends to recognize their service protecting the nation's capital. And like we have been discussing just yesterday, if you were with us, the president wants to invite their families to the White House. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro says charges will include first-degree murder with more expected, and Attorney General Pam Bondi says the Justice Department will seek the death penalty. So we're going to keep you updated as that unfolds. Another big national story we're following here involves the White House's, or rather Trump administration's, strikes on alleged drug trafficking boats coming from Venezuela. The White House is facing some controversy and criticism over its strikes on these alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. They're defending against accusations right now that administration officials could have committed war crimes. And here's why. More than 80 alleged drug traffickers have been killed since the U.S. military started launching these strikes earlier this year. The first one in early September is now under intense scrutiny. That's because the Washington Post reports that after 11 people were killed on that boat, there were 2 survivors clinging to the wreckage in the water who were killed in a follow-up strike. Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth said the day after, quote, "I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat and we knew exactly what they were doing," end quote. The White House acknowledges this report from the Washington Post, but says Hegseth did not directly order that second strike. One of the things that the White House has said is that Secretary Hegseth authorized an admiral to conduct the strikes, and that it was within his authority and the law. President Trump answered questions aboard Air Force One, saying that he would not have wanted the second strike, saying the first strike was very lethal and it was fine, and saying that the second strike Pete did not order. Congress is asking for an investigation. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle say they have deep concerns about the ethical concerns of these strikes. One of the things that they want to understand is whether or not these drug boats really are trafficking drugs or whether they're just suspected, and whether or not it's legal to launch these strikes if they are not actually drug trafficking vessels. President Trump met with his national security team Monday after speaking with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro over the weekend. So this is obviously a situation that has escalated, and it continues to have new developments every single day. We'll keep you updated right here in the Fox Local app. And if you have any questions on this story, you can feel free to put it in our YouTube chat where we're live streaming right now. I've seen a lot of people talking about this on social media. So if you do have questions, put it in the chat and we can discuss. One of the things that the president did do today is he hosted his final cabinet meeting of the year around noon. You can see images from that cabinet meeting. This happened just about a couple hours ago. You can see the president flanked by all of his advisors, Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the right and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth there on the left. Now, the White House didn't really talk about these drug boat strikes during this cabinet meeting. It's the final cabinet meeting of the year and the 9th cabinet meeting of President Trump's second term. Rather, the president used this opportunity to highlight what he felt were accomplishments during his administration's year here in 2025. So let's listen to some of what the president had to say during this meeting.
1 year ago, our country was dead. Then said to me by many leaders, we had a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. The hottest country anywhere in the world. Think of that. In 4 long years of the Biden administration, there were just $1 trillion of new investments in the United States in 10 months. We've secured commitments of over $18 trillion. So they had, in 1 year, they had less than $1 trillion. That's in a period of 4 years. Think of it, 4 years they had less than $1 trillion. In 10 months, we have more than 18 trillion. Is that right, Scott? It's even going to be higher than that.
It'll be higher by
and
the
going
end of
up.
this, sir.
And we're waiting for the Supreme Court case, and it's so important and so vital for this country because we're not only respected again, we're putting out wars by our trade policies, and we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. And our country is wealthy again and secure again, and it's part of national security, and I hope that goes well. I think it's very important, but think of the number. We're going to be over $18 trillion in 10 months, and which is a record times probably 8 or 10 times, I think more than that, for any country. There's never been a country that's had that kind of an investment ever in history. And there's never been a country that's had half of that. It's a tremendous thing that's taking place. We have companies moving in from all over the world, from Mexico, from Canada, from Europe, from China, from Japan a lot. We just had Toyota is going to spend $10 billion, they just announced, on building new plants in this country. Our workers, they're going to be our workers. But they're spending a tremendous amount. So the stock market is set 46 all-time highs. And this last Friday, which is called Black Friday, was the biggest ever online sales that there's ever been by a lot. More Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country. I mean, these are the facts we have to get out. And, you know, there's this fake narrative that the Democrats talk about, affordability. They just say the word. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. They just say it. Affordability. I inherited the worst inflation in history. There was no affordability. Nobody could afford anything. The prices were massively high. Do you remember when we took over eggs? You did a great job on that, Madam Secretary. Agriculture, Brooke. Eggs were 4 or 5 times higher than they had ever been. They said don't order eggs for Easter at the White House. And we ended up doing it, and we got the egg prices way down, lower than what they were before. But the word affordability is a con job by the Democrats. They say affordable. I watched the other day where some very low IQ congresswoman talked about affordability. She had no idea. Their prices were much higher. As an example, energy, gasoline, we're now at about $2.50 a gallon. We're going to be, I think, at $2 a gallon. We could even crack that at some point. I'd love to do it. And we could do it more easily if we weren't building up the strategic national reserves, which Biden emptied out before the election so that he could try and get elected, meaning he started it, then he got thrown out of the race, then she took over and she kept it going, and they emptied out these strategic national reserves, which are really meant for something else. They're not meant to keep people happy with their gasoline price. They're meant for war. They're meant for problems, big problems. He emptied it out, and then she continued it during the process of trying to get elected. Didn't work out too well for him. And they virtually brought it down to the lowest level, I believe, in history. And
It's President Trump speaking from his final cabinet meeting of the year. And I want to let you know some of the other things that President Trump did discuss during this cabinet meeting. Some of his advisors and cabinet members did speak, but the president talked about tariffs. You heard him talk a lot in the beginning about investment that's come to the United States and what he sees are success points in terms of getting other countries to invest in America's economy and infrastructure. The president really highlighted tariffs and talked about how they were important for the United States economy. And a little bit later here in our live stream, in about 15 minutes or so, I want to get into more about tariffs. We're going to talk about where they stand and what the Supreme Court is looking at. The president also did talk a lot about border security Party and how border crossings are weighed down. The president also spoke about potentially eliminating the income tax. That is something that will obviously have a lot of people talking, and if we get any more concrete plans on that, we'll be sure to let you know right here on Fox Local. In the meantime, guys, coming up, I want to get a check of your weather forecast. We have meteorologist Jonathan Stacy standing by as we look at a cloudy day outside. We're going to check in with him in just a bit coming up.
Our net numbers are unbelievable. But we had 0 people.
Well, welcome back in. I'm Ariel Onstad here with meteorologist Jonathan Stacy. And you guys, the Northeast, I can't speak, Jonathan, being pummeled with snow. Here at home, it feels cold. Sometimes it feels like there should be snow. But what are we looking at?
We're on the worst end of it all. If you're a winter weather lover, wisher, however you want to put it, because yeah, we're getting the cold air, but it's not cold enough to create frozen precip. Yes, not only the Northeast, but the Midwest, the Ohio River Valley, the Great Lakes, and many of them getting their second share of winter weather in 1 week already.
Jonathan, based on the lack of enthusiasm in your tone, I take it you are not an avid winter supporter.
I am generally not, but if we got a snow around here, I would join in the fun, and meaning
I'm projecting. I don't love winter.
What I don't like are days in which we have no sunshine and the rain is done. It's not like the clouds are bringing any rain. They're just kind of outstaying their welcome as this area of low pressure walks its way up the eastern seaboard. So we'll be looking at things basically with a side eye over the next 24 hours as this system pulls out over the Northeast and through New England. The impacts to the I-95 corridor have yet to be seen, but if you do have travel plans that take you northbound, either by road or by air, you will likely run into some wet or wintry weather or a little bit of both. Meanwhile, things here at home are calm, cloudy, and cool. In fact, temperatures have yet to hit 50 degrees. We're at 49 degrees. The mercury has not moved much all day long, and I don't expect much movement as we get into the latter part of the day. Any movement that we get into will be post-sunset, and that will send us down into not just the 30s, but the 20s tonight. We'll drop down to 29 degrees here in Atlanta, 26 Canton, 24 Blairsville. A couple communities managing to hold on with a firm grip to the 30s, but here is going to be the problem. The culprit is the winds. You know how these things work. We bring a front through, create some precip out ahead of it, and then the winds start rocking and rolling, and those high winds will take us through the overnight hours, gusts topping 20, 25 miles an hour, making it feel like it is 33 degrees at the 8 o'clock hour tonight. This is here in the metro area, feeling like 23 degrees across northeast Georgia by the time you get to sunset. Here's the deal. Waking up tomorrow morning, that chill is going to be firm and strong. Adding in with the wind, it's going to feel like it's 27 degrees here in Atlanta. 27 also the feels like number there in northeast Georgia. That's as a result of the wind starting to die down. Even with a breath of wind, it's going to still be quite the frigid morning. So as we take a look at your 7-day forecast here, the numbers come back tomorrow, but they only come back into the low 50s. We'll call it quits with a 52-degree high temperature. That's after we shake the chill of 29 degrees to start. Enjoy the sunshine tomorrow if you have something you want to do outside and it requires sunshine. Tomorrow is your day to get it done because the clouds, they're back in full force Thursday. Dropping from them a few passing showers, but a better chance for rain comes Friday, and that rain chance will linger on into the weekend, but just the first half of the weekend, because by the second half of the weekend, we'll bring out more sunshine. Temperatures really don't bounce back. It's like they have taken a slide going into the final month of the year, and they are staying in the doldrums. Hopefully we can bounce back as we get into the middle part of the month, but by and large, it looks like a wetter and a cooler pattern is here, and it persists.
You know, Jonathan, I think we're glad for the rain just because it's been so dry, and it's nice to finally let the ground soak up some moisture. But I'm with you. When we get to these days that just are cold and cloudy for no reason, the vitamin D, the lack of it, really does send my spirit down, you know, and I don't mean to complain, but I just have to say
you have to bring your own sunshine in, and you have to take your own vitamin D.
That is so true.
And at the airport over the past 24 hours, we had a small collection yesterday, but the bulk of the rain that perused over the airport was this morning during the pre-dawn hours, and we collected an inch. And so we were in a deficit of more than 6 inches to start the day. By day's end, we will have dropped that deficit down to 5 inches.
Wow.
So it was a healthy dose of rain that is helping us dig our way out of a drought, but it's all coming with very few breaks or very small breaks in between, and that's exactly what this week is. A textbook example of the drought starting to relent, but it's coming on the backs of some pretty drowsy, dreary December days.
Well, Jonathan, thank you so much. As always, love our weather chats. I'm going to let you go out on a live look here of Sandy Springs. You're taking a look at the King and Queen buildings. See those overcast skies that Jonathan Stacy was just talking about. So we'll let you know as the weather progresses what your rain chances are looking like. Jonathan just talked a little bit about what is in store for us. But in the meantime, I want to bring you guys back because I just did get a news or note on breaking news here just into our newsroom. We know that the Gwinnett County Police Department is on the scene of what appears to be a homicide in the 400 block of Clearwater Place in Lawrenceville. So right now, police are investigating a homicide in Lawrenceville. Officers say they've located a woman who's dead and a man who is dead inside of a home. Right now, we do know that the public information officer, the one who gives updates to the media on these situations, is traveling right now to the scene to get more information. And hopefully they will be able to give us an interview and an update here in the next little bit. So we'll continue to keep you updated as this unfolds. But right now, Gwinnett County Police Department investigating a double homicide in the 400 block of Clearwater Place. So check back in right here on Fox Local for updates. I'll let you know as soon as we get something new. In the meantime, coming up here on Fox Local within our 2 o'clock hour, we're going to go to the Georgia State University's Robinson College of Business, where we're going to talk to an expert about mortgages. I'd love to get you guys an update on what we were facing with 50-year mortgages and some of the other things that were discussed, assumable and portable, whether or not this is possible, what it would look like, and how it could affect you coming up. Well, welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for streaming along here with us on your Tuesday afternoon. We just got a live shot from Washington, D.C., where you can see Senate leaders are holding a news conference about the 2 National Guards members who were ambushed in Washington, D.C. last week. We tragically know that one of them has died, and the other, the photo you see there of the National Guardsman in front of the senator, is clinging to life. Let's listen in as the senators are updating on this tragedy.
Resolution forward honoring these 2 individuals tomorrow, but I would ask all of you and the nation to realize that these were peacekeepers. They were doing their duty. They were ambushed in a very brutal and violent way on the streets of Washington, D.C., where they were tasked to make those streets safer and help to make their streets safer, which they were. So I just want to take this opportunity to pay tribute to them, to the National Guard family, to General Seward, has done a wonderful job as our Adjutant General, and to hope and pray for Andrew's recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Capito. And let me just say that please express to the families our gratitude for their service on behalf of a grateful nation.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Are we at war in the Caribbean? And if so, should the President declare war and/or should Congress approve an authorization?
I think the President is acting under his authority as Commander-in-Chief in a way that's consistent with what past administrations have done. And clearly, a war has been waged by these drug cartels against the United States, and it has come at a great cost to American citizens. We've lost tens of thousands of lives in just the past year to these drug cartels. So I think the President's operating within his authorities.
After hearing from Chairman Crapo, Chairman Cassidy today at lunch, do you think Republicans will be ready to coalesce behind some sort of health care plan or alternative by next week's vote on the ACA subsidies?
We had a robust discussion on a subject that is of great interest, not only to obviously senators in the room, but the American people. And as I've said before, we want to move forward on solutions that will make health care not only more accessible, but more affordable to more Americans. That gives them more choices, more optionality, greater competition, and therefore lower prices. And so we continue to coalesce around those solutions. We had a good presentation today from a couple of our leading chairmen, Senators Crapo and Cassidy, thank you, and a lot of others that we heard from at the conversation we had today as well. So I think as we get into next week, obviously, as you know, the Democrats are going to get an opportunity to vote on a proposal of their choosing, and we will see where the Republicans come down. But that conversation continues.
Since it was confirmed earlier this year, Secretary Hugg said that's engaged in a number of controversies that have gotten criticism from both sides, whether it's Signalgate or how he's handled, talked about Ukraine, and now these Caribbean boat strikes. Do you have full confidence in his handling of his job as Secretary of Defense?
Well, I think that the fundamental question is the country safer than it was under the Biden administration? I think the answer to that is unequivocally yes. I think the Trump administration and the peace through strength policies that they are employing around the world are making our country safer. And so Secretary Hegseth is a part of that. He serves at the pleasure of the President. And I am sure that with regard to the latest question that you all have been raising, that the Senate Armed Services Committee, which is going to look into and get the facts on some of the events that have happened down the Caribbean, that we will get those answers in due time. But I have every confidence that the policies that this administration is employing when it comes to keeping people in this country safe and ensuring that our policy is one of peace through strength, that those policies are being adhered to and followed.
Is it your goal to hold a vote on the Republican health care?
Okay, you're listening in as Senator John Thune updates at the leadership press conference for the Senate today. Senator John Thune answering a lot of questions surrounding surrounding the United States strikes on alleged drug boats coming from Venezuela. You also heard from United States Senator Shelley Capito from West Virginia about the ambush attack on the 2 National Guardsmen from West Virginia and the nation's capital last week. We're going to continue to keep you updated as this situation unfolds. Right now, this is unfolding live on our nation's capital, and you can see it just wrapped up, and senators are walking away from the podium. So I want to continue on here because we have a few other stories to get to. A big one dealing with tariffs and where we stand with President Trump's tariff policies, because right now we're getting a better picture from a new report that was released explaining the effects of the president's tariffs. We know the Trump administration is still working to secure trade deals with a number of countries. The Supreme Court is set to rule on whether or not the president exceeded his authority in issuing these tariffs here soon. But this new report takes a look at how these tariffs levies are affecting world economic growth. And what it's finding is that the world economy has remained strong. This report comes from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and it estimates the global economy will grow 3.2% this year, up from nearly 3% in June. The group also raised its forecast for American growth to 2%, though still lower than last year. The Trump administration continues to try to find new trade agreements. On Monday, the United Kingdom reached a deal for 0% tariff rate on all medicines exported to the United States for at least 3 years. On Monday, in return, the United Kingdom's drug firms are going to invest more in the United States and create more jobs. So that's the trade-off, right? The United Kingdom doesn't have to pay tariffs for importing the medication, but in tandem or in exchange, then the UK's drug firms have to invest in American infrastructure. President Trump's trade policies continue to face pushback, though. Costco has now joined dozens of companies seeking a full refund if the Supreme Court strikes down the majority of these tariffs. So Costco joining that national lawsuit. The White House says it has a backup plan. If the court rules against the White House, the government may be forced to return billions of dollars in collected revenue. So we'll keep you updated as that situation unfolds. Another big story, you guys, this one dealing with food stamps. And this is something that we have been following here in our newsroom because we know it affects so many of you. SNAP benefits flowing once again after the longest government shutdown. But some food stamp recipients may lose out on those benefits after new requirements went into effect yesterday. That's Monday. The new requirements for SNAP could affect millions of food stamp enrollees. And here's what they entail. More people are going to now have to work, train, or volunteer at least 80 hours per month in order to receive those monthly SNAP benefits. This comes under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which President Trump signed into law over the summer. The work requirements are going to apply to anyone between the ages of 18 and 64 years old. The previous age limit was 54 years old. Veterans and those experiencing homelessness will now also fall under this mandate. So basically, if you want to get your SNAP benefits, you're going to have to train or volunteer at least 80 hours per month for those work requirements in order to get the benefits. Now, we do know Senator Hakeem Jeffries has said that one of the things he is looking at is whether or not this will affect America's most vulnerable seniors and hungry children and other family members who may find these requirements difficult to follow through with. According to the Congressional Budget Office projections, the new conditions would lower the average monthly number of recipients by roughly 2.5 million over a decade. So over time, this would dwindle the amount of people using SNAP benefits. USDA that administers, the United States agency that administers the SNAP benefits, says that they're reforming SNAP because the program is out of control and they want to get rid of waste and fraud with SNAP benefits. The Trump administration is blaming the high cost within the assistance program on fraud and over-reliance on the benefits. We do know that Commissioner Brooke Rollins of the USDA says they've studied about $100 billion in spending, and they found thousands and thousands of illegal uses of the EBT card, and they want to put a stop to that. Recipients who don't meet the new requirements could begin losing their benefits as early as March. So that is something to keep in mind. If you want to still qualify for SNAP, you're going to have to follow through with some of these new work requirements. Moving on here, one other thing I want to let you guys know about that is pretty significant is that nearly 9,000 or 44% of truck driving schools here in the United States may be forced to close. And there could be fewer truckers on the road in the coming months. Nearly 44% of America's truck driving schools could be forced to close after review from the Transportation Department. And what the Trump administration is finding is they say that some of these trucking schools are not complying with government requirements. They found that the Trump administration has been prioritizing highway safety since an illegal immigrant with a trucking license caused a crash in Florida and killed 3 people. So this crackdown is intensifying. The Transportation Department plans to revoke the certification of almost 3,000 truck driving schools, with another 4,000 also in danger. The feds say those schools aren't complying with training requirements, and that's making our roads less safe. But these decertifications mean almost 44% of America's truck driving schools would effectively be out of business. Homeland Security has started auditing trucking firms in California owned by immigrants looking for unauthorized use or illegal drivers. And one of the things that people are looking at in this industry is whether or not this could make the truck driver shortage worse. The Transportation Department says the schools have 30 days to meet these federal requirements or they're going to be decertified. So certainly a story that's pretty big. We'll keep you updated on as it affects our infrastructure and movement of goods and services. Another story happening today, U.S. negotiators are meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. They're trying to iron out a deal to end the war in Ukraine. U.S. negotiators have a tough road ahead. Putin's army claims to have captured more Ukrainian territory. Russian soldiers waved their flags proudly, as you just saw. They claim to capture the Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk, and this happened just hours before Russian President Vladimir Putin was set to sit down with U.S. negotiators to discuss Washington's revised peace plan. The 2 men you just saw on your screen, President Trump's top negotiators. We're talking about Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law. Putin has red lines, such as acquiring sections of Ukrainian territory and keeping Kyiv out of NATO, some things that Putin desperately wants as part of this peace treaty. President Trump has put his faith in his special envoy, who are leading those negotiations today. The same team, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, negotiated the recent peace deal in Gaza. Over the weekend, U.S. officials met with the Ukrainians in Florida to try to revise Trump's 28-point peace plan. Critics say that it favored Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky seems more satisfied now that revisions have been made. Officials haven't shared what parts of the peace plan were changed, but throughout all of these negotiations, President Putin has not been willing to compromise. So as they continue their meetings today, we'll keep you updated as those developments come forward. I want to let you know about something else that has been unfolding. Attorneys representing Luigi Mangione hope they can convince a New York judge to throw out key evidence in his murder case. It's been almost a year since he was accused of assassinating healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on the streets of Manhattan. And the defense is arguing that bombshell evidence in the case should be thrown out before the trial gets underway. Items from Mangione's arrest in Pennsylvania at the McDonald's. There, police found a 3D printed gun, a silencer, and a journal with writings that appear to connect him to the murder, all inside his backpack. But his lawyers say this was an illegal search, and I do have to say, experts don't think this argument from his defense attorneys are going to hold up. But the defense is also hoping statements Mangione made will be thrown out because they say he had not been properly read his legal rights. We've seen supporters outside of the courthouse as this unfolded, many of them sharing their frustrations with the United States healthcare system. home. Mangione has kind of become somewhat of a beacon for them. He did plead guilty, not guilty, Mangione did, to all 9 charges at the state level. He also faces a separate federal trial, and 2 of those most serious charges, including an alleged act of terrorism, have already been dropped. So that is something that is unfolding. Another final story I want to get to for you guys, if you have been following this mass shooting in California at a child's birthday party, just heartbreaking. We know that 4 people have been killed in all this, and California authorities are urging witnesses to come forward as this manhunt continues for a suspect in this deadly shooting. It unfolded at a child's birthday party at a banquet hall in Stockton Saturday evening. 4 people were killed, including 3 children, ages 8, 9, and 14. Roughly 100 people were at this party, and police say 11 others were also hurt. Detectives aren't sure who the target was, and they're investigating whether multiple shooters were involved. Witnesses reported masked gunmen entering the venue and opening fire. We do know Stockton's mayor says the shooting could be gang-related, but the sheriff says it's too early to know right now. The mayor's offering a $25,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. So this situation is ongoing as they continue to try to find who is responsible for all of this. Coming up, you guys, I want to get a check of a local real estate agency that is doing a lot on this Giving Tuesday. They hosted a brunch, and they're working to support Georgia's foster children. Our Chris Rosenthal was there, and we're going to check in with him coming up. Well, welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for streaming along here with me on your Tuesday afternoon. You guys, we have a really cool story on this Giving Tuesday. We know that a brunch and toy drive is working to benefit Georgia's foster children, and our Chris Rosenthal went to check it out. Chris, tell me, why did this, I understand it's a real estate team that's doing this. Why did they want to give back? Why is this a cause near and dear to their heart?
Absolutely, absolutely. This event just wrapped up here in Grant Park. It was a brunch that was a toy drive brunch and a fundraiser to raise money for Georgia's foster children, specifically 28 families that this group is adopting. In Georgia there is an $85 million deficit in funds for the Georgia foster children. So this group wanted to help out. They have some special personal reasons, and we'll talk with them here. I am here with Terry Marie Gleaton with the Wealthy Group, this real estate group that has put this on, and these are some of her team here. And tell me, Terry, first of all, why we're out here today and what this means to you.
So today is Giving Tuesday, the biggest charitable year of the day of the year. And so today, the Wealthy Group, my amazing real estate organization, we wanted to come together to help foster children, knowing the statistical data. And listen, I was a foster once. A lot of people know my story. I was in foster care for several years. I know the atrocities of it. I know the lack of hope in that space. But during Christmas time, it is an opportunity to give back to those children that are less fortunate, and we wanted to make an amazing day of it. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk to me. I mean, this is personal. This is personal to you, and you know, being a foster child, getting a gift for the first time. Talk to me about your experience with that.
Yes, so I was actually 8 years old, and being shown on a foster child on Wednesday's Child. So I went on Wednesday's Child for the first time when I was 8 years old, and I was gifted a Snoopy doll. That was the very first time I had something of my own, something that was just for me, that somebody thought enough to give to me. But that doll didn't just represent a toy, a playtime for me. It represented hope. It was the fact that I may get adopted, I may find a family, and I may have a future.
And really quickly, but just really quick, you have some other initiatives coming up that you're going to do.
Yes, so this was our amazing inaugural event here at 250 Georgia Avenue. Our partners at WEOP assisted us, so we are going to partner with WEOP next year, and we're going to bring a IT lab where we will be able to donate 25 laptops in an AI seminar to foster kids to help them get ahead.
Gotcha. And website people want to donate is wggivingtuesday.com. They have till December 8th, correct?
That is correct, till December 8th.
Well, there you go. So till December 8th, you can help donate as well for help foster kids here in Georgia.
Wonderful. Chris Rosenthal, thank you so much for bringing this story to us. We do need to move on because I just saw President Trump walk out for an announcement. So Chris, thank you so much. Guys, let's move on here. We do have live images from Washington, D.C. where the president is updating. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Scott Besson, chairman of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Science and Transportation, Ted Cruz, House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith, Vice Chairman of the House Republican Conference, Blake Moore, as well as the Chief Design Officer of the United States Airbnb co-founder, Joe Gebbia. I want to thank you all for being here. It's a great group. And I guess a potential Fed chair is here, too. I don't know. Are we allowed to say that? Potential. He's a respected person, that I can tell you. Thank you, Kevin. Today is Giving Tuesday. I don't know if anybody's heard that one before, but it is indeed Giving Tuesday, one of the biggest days of the year for philanthropy and charitable giving. And this afternoon, Michael and Susan Dell are committing to one of the largest private donations in American history, which will directly benefit the next generation of American children through the new Trump Accounts program that we created in our One Big Beautiful Bill. And Michael and Susan came to see me along with...
Well, we're listening in as President Trump is updating on a charitable announcement from Michael and Susan Dell, the Dell Foundation, working to give American children $250 with their Trump accounts. This is something that was announced previously, and the president coming out to update on this announcement. You may remember under the Big Beautiful Bill, the president had talked about working to promote a higher birth rate here in the United States and working to give children born a investment account, if you will. So we'll continue to keep you updated on this announcement. In the meantime, the news is going to continue it through, and we have a lot of things to get to. So we'll see you here in just a bit.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. So glad you're with us today. I'm Tom Haynes with you live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Want to bring you back live to the White House now, where President Trump is making what the White House is characterizing as a major announcement and investment in children's future. The beneficiary of this is Michael Dell, the computer billionaire who's committing $6.25 billion to provide 25 million American children under the age of 10 an incentive to claim new investments in America. Let's listen to what the president has to say on this so-called Giving Tuesday. We have audio?
Grow to be worth many thousands of dollars by the time the child is 18 and even more by the time they are 20 or even 30 years old. We think it's going to be something really unique and really special. We hope many others will follow Michael and Susan's example and make their own contributions. I'll be doing it too. To the next generation, including businesses, churches, philanthropists, family members, and parents themselves. I think we're going to have a lot of people, Susan, I think a lot of people are going to be contribute. A lot of people are watching us right now. They might not be $6 billion plus, but there'll be a lot. There aren't too many people that are in the 6 billion range, but there'll be a lot. A lot of friends of mine have already told me they're going to contribute a lot of money, and a lot of them are going to leave a lot of money in their wills, so that's very important. And as you watch us today, I hope you'll be doing that. Contributions to Trump accounts will also be a great benefit for employers to offer their workers, which they'll be able to do tax-free. It's tax-free. We expect hundreds of major companies to announce plans to contribute to these accounts in the coming months, and we've had tremendous interest in that regard. So the Trump accounts will be available starting on July 4th of next year. And Michael and Susan, to you again, it's an amazing act of just incredible everything. I mean, the life you've led to be able to do this, even to be able to, even a lot of people have a good heart, but they can't give $6.25 billion. And Michael, probably knowing you,
administration has pledged to do, and that is invest in America's future, specifically to allow children under the age of 10 to have these investment accounts, these so-called Trump accounts, being spearheaded by none other than Michael and Susan Dell, pledging over $6 billion. But he said it doesn't end there, that other people are going to also pledge to donate money. Other billionaires, other well-to-do people. There's Michael Dell, who's going to make a couple of comments on what this initiative is all about, and people who might leave something in their will to the future of children. This will be administered by the Treasury Department. It will be managed by private funds, but it'll allow children to start investing in their futures and their retirement with this announcement by Michael Dell that he's going to start that process by providing each child money to do that. So that happening at the White House today. We move on now locally here to an unfortunate situation that played out in Bartow County last night, late yesterday afternoon to be specific. Deputies showing up to serve a search warrant, and when they say they got there, they were forced to fire because a man came out of that home and he pointed what looked like a rifle at officers, so they opened fire. That man is dead tonight. Kevin Stewart here now with the bizarre circumstances that led up to all this. Kevin?
Yeah, the GBI is now handling this case, and I can tell you we are learning more about this fatal officer-involved shooting. A lot of speculation, but we're going to tell you what we do know as fact. First, let's take you to the scene, video of the scene from last night, and a picture of the victim, the suspect, 39-year-old Dylan Rice. On Monday afternoon, shortly before 5, deputies attempted to serve a search warrant connected to a death investigation. They're not being more specific about the death investigation. Law enforcement says it used flashbangs to flush out Rice out of the house, but he didn't come out. But they said when he did, eventually, they say he had a weapon which turned out to be a pellet air rifle. Deputies allege Rice pointed the weapon at them, and that's when he was shot. We did talk to a neighbor who lived not too far from there. She says not a lot happens in that area, and she's really shocked. Take a listen.
We heard shots, but we didn't know where they were coming from. And we thought it was a neighbor of ours that, you know, he hunts. So, you know, he might have been cleaning his gun. But then my daughter-in-law called me and says that there were lots of police cars out here near our area. And they said that, she said that she wanted to make sure that I was okay.
All right, now, again, she says that she heard 2 shots, and she says it probably is around 5:30 or so when that happened, and that whole area was blocked off last night, and, you know, she told her daughter-in-law that she was safe and she was glad when everything calmed down in the area. Again, we are not aware of exactly what that death investigation was about. Lots of speculation. I actually tried to check a warrant at the courthouse for Mr. Rice, and the last thing I did see for him was a damage to property warrant back in June. So we don't know what the death investigation is about, but it's something that we'll continue to follow, Tom.
Yeah, Kevin, and just to be clear, according to authorities, or at least from what I read and preparing to talk to you this afternoon, this was sort of an airsoft rifle that he walked out of the house with, according to police. You know, the situation is that they don't know that when somebody walks out of the house and points a rifle at them. When circumstances like that happen, they're trained to defend themselves and really shoot to kill.
Yeah, we understand that that when he originally did not come out of the house and tried to talk him out of the house, use some type of mist or something of that to kind of flush him out, and then eventually use the flashbangs that did drive him out of the house. And when he came out, they thought he was armed with a gun, but after it was all said and done, it was an air pellet rifle.
Yeah, and as you said, still unclear as to why authorities were there in the first place serving this warrant. There's speculation as to why they might have come there, but details are still kind of sketchy as to why they showed up at that guy's house in the first place.
Right, yeah, we've checked with the GBI. So far have not heard back, and we're here at the Bartow County Sheriff's Office awaiting word from them. I've had a chance to get in contact with the public information officer to try if we could ascertain what exactly what that was all about, but so far no word. But eventually I'm sure that will come out. We'll come up with that information. We'll share it with you when we do.
All right. Kevin Stewart, good reporting there from Bartow County on the circumstances that unfolded last night outside that man's home, who was ultimately shot down by police after pointing, according to them, a rifle at them. Kevin, thanks. It is election day in many municipalities across our area. A few runoff elections to talk about, things like city council, school board seats up for grabs in these runoffs. So now that this has all happened, we finally have a chance to kind of look ahead to the all-important midterm elections. And it's going to be a big election cycle here in our own state. We have the governor's race to talk about. We have an open United States Senate seat to talk about. We have other races that a lot of people will be paying attention to, ones that could affect the balance of power in Washington. Let's get out to Fox 5's Deidre Dukes. Deidre, you are a veteran political reporter, and so you know how high the stakes are coming up in November of next year. Talk to us about how the groundwork is already being laid here.
Well, it's pretty steady traffic here at the Buckhead Library for the municipal election runoff here in the city of Atlanta. And I wanted to point that out, Tom, because it's really an indication, kind of a barometer of what we might expect as we head into the midterms, because this Buckhead Library location is always a very popular, busy location when it comes to early voting and actually day of election day voting. As we pan over to the parking lot here, you can see that it's pretty full today. Kind of what you might expect on election day when you are dealing with the runoff races. We've seen steady foot traffic. And as we look ahead to the midterm elections, I can tell you that just as we've seen, especially in the statewide races, the PSC race that we voted in November, it is expected that the midterm elections here are expected to be very competitive. And I did talk to some political strategists about that today, as you said, looking at both the U.S. Senate race and also looking at the big state races, several offices up for grabs this go-round. And while Georgia's U.S. Senate race really has garnered national attention and is expected to do so, Republican strategist Brian Robinson says that the race for Georgia's next governor will take center stage. And meantime, we also spoke to Democratic strategist Theron Johnson. He said that his party must build on the momentum from the Public Service Commission race. As you know, Tom, two Democrats unseated Republican incumbents there. And here's what Theron had to say about how it was so important for Democrats to look at the successes of that race and to build on that heading into the midterms.
For over 2 decades in this state, Republicans have had the opportunity to control all forms of state government. Well, nothing lasts forever. And what the PSC race showed us is that if you have qualified candidates who are on the Democratic ticket with a message and well-financed, you can actually win in Georgia. And so I think that Democrats are feeling very emboldened about the upcoming elections in 2026. You can't get comfortable and content, but there's definitely a lot of momentum to build on because we saw some best practices in that PSC race, and we see that the state is changing.
Now, when I talked to Brian Robinson about that, he said, look, the municipal elections really drove Democrats to the polls this go-round in November, where he said the same could not be said so much for Republicans when it came to that statewide race, which is why he believes that we saw the 2 seats that were held by those Republican incumbents overturned and taken by those 2 Democrats who will actually take those seats next year. At the same time, he said that it's very important not to underestimate Democratic turnout here in the state, saying that Republicans could not leave anything to chance. And let's hear from him.
There was much more of an incentive for Democrats to show up this year based on local elections in Democrat-heavy cities. That was a major factor. On the other hand, Republicans can't ignore the 26-point margin. That is a staggering margin, and one that should give Republicans pause. It does indicate that there are some rocky environmental factors at play here, and that may be alleviated by the end of 2026, but we don't know. I certainly would not want a statewide election being held right now because the environment would not be good for Republicans. They've got almost a year to change that environment, and hopefully that'll happen.
And of course, we also saw not only with the PSC race here, Tom, in Georgia, but also in November, some of the other races across the country where Democrats unseated Republicans or just beat Republicans in those particular races, where Democrats saw that as a sign that they were in fact making inroads with a Republican in the White House. At the same time, Brian Robinson says that that's not necessarily the case. As you heard him say there, it often is the case where during midterms, if you have a Democrat in the White House, that bodes well for Republicans, and vice versa if you have a Republican in the White House. So both he and Theron said that as far as this being a state, a purple state, where you really have to work hard to get your folks to the polls. You can't take anything for granted. You've got so many people both in the Republican and Democratic races, our top state races in the primaries, just trying to make it to the general election. It is expected that we can see in coming months where both parties are going to be pushing very hard for candidates in various races. And then when we get to that general election, just, buckle up, Tom.
Yeah, Deidre, you said it, because it's going to be an interesting one. Especially if you're a political enthusiast, Georgia is the place to be because, we tend to vacillate between red and blue. Many people would characterize this state as purple. Brian Kemp won the governor's race pretty handily. We'll see if Republicans can hold on to the chief executive seat in our state. But then the question is, there's going to be other races to keep an eye on. What becomes of Jon Ossoff, and what kind of campaign does he mount in his bid for the freshman senator to win re-election after his first term in office? And so it's almost like political sport, if you will, if you're watching all this, and who's in favor and who's not. But it's kind of a long road ahead between now and 1 year from now.
Yeah, definitely. And you said it best, Tom. Even though you'll have Republicans say, Democrats haven't made as great inroads as they believe, Democrats on the other side saying the exact opposite. We have seen in recent years that Democrats have made pretty significant inroads in this state, and it is one where we have seen, even when Republicans have been victorious in races, a governor's race, for example, Stacey Abrams, when she ran against Governor Kemp several years ago, the first go round, actually had a pretty strong performance, given she was a Democrat, is a Democrat. And so it really is one of those states where, just as we can see on the national level, where you can no longer take anything for granted when it comes to politics, certainly a lot of folks will be watching the state of Georgia to see how some of these top state races play out, and of course the U.S. Senate race as well.
Yeah, I love talking politics, especially with you, Deidre. I could talk about it for the rest of the hour, but being told we got to move on. We're going to keep focused on the road to November. Fox 5 always on top of it with you leading our coverage. Deidre, thanks. Want to head to the situation that unfolded in Washington, D.C. Last week. West Virginia governor now says that the National Guardsman Andrew Wolf was shot outside of a Washington subway station and is in serious condition. But the West Virginia governor says he's showing some promising signs. The other victim, 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom, died on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. The Trump administration now taking a closer look at all the refugees from Afghanistan who came to the U.S. following the American troop withdrawal. The Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, says that he might have been radicalized after he entered the United States. A memorial with cards and pictures and flowers and American flags has grown in Washington at the scene of that attack, honoring the memory of Beckstrom. As I said, she passed away Thanksgiving Day after that shooting. This shooting happened right in the middle of the day, less than a mile from the White House. In fact, you can see the White House from where the shooting took place. The suspect, identified as an Afghan national, he allegedly drove across the entire country, according to authorities, from Washington state to launch the attack. Now the White House is ordering the relevant agencies to take a closer look at the situation. President Trump says that he's spoken with both of the National Guardsmen's families and, of course, described them as devastated. The president says that he intends to invite both families to the White House. Speaking of, it's been a busy day in our nation's capital. The president holding a cabinet meeting today discussing a range of issues, including the strike of that Venezuelan purported drug boat, and then the second strike where there were reportedly some survivors hanging on to that boat. That maneuver being called into question. You see the Secretary of War Pete Hegseth sitting to the left of the president. They discussed that and a range of topics at this cabinet meeting. Let's listen to a little bit about what the president had to say.
1 year ago, our country was dead. Then said to me by many leaders, we had a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. The hottest country anywhere in the world. Think of that. In 4 long years of the Biden administration, there were just $1 trillion of new investments in the United States in 10 months. We've secured commitments of over $18 trillion. So they had, in 1 year, less than $1 trillion. That's in a period of 4 years. Think of it. 4 years they had less than $1 trillion. In 10 months, we have more than 18 trillion. Is that right, Scott? It's even going to be higher than that.
It'll be higher, but
and going up. And we're waiting for the Supreme Court case, and it's so important and so vital for this country because we're not only respected again, we're putting out wars by our trade policies, and we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and our country is wealthy again and secure again, and it's part of national security, and I hope that goes well. I think it's very important, but think of the number. We're going to be over $18 trillion in 10 months, and which is a record times probably 8 or 10 times, I think more than that, for any country. There's never been a country that's had that kind of an investment ever in history. And there's never been a country that's had half of that. It's a tremendous thing that's taking place. We have...
All right, President Trump talking to his cabinet this morning. The news press cameras there rolling on the entire thing. Lasted over an hour with some Q&A afterwards. The president talking about the health of the nation's economy, which, given all indications, is in a pretty good place right now, even though affordability seems to be the buzzword out there, and getting inflation down seems to be a persistent, nagging challenge to which the president would attribute to the prior administration. Wall Street shaking it off today anyway, making up some ground from yesterday. The Dow up nearly 250 points at this hour. When we come back, we're going to take a live look outside to check on our weather. It is another kind of miserable day out there, a little more miserable today than it was yesterday, as we take a live look across downtown Atlanta with the clouds hanging low across our city, eclipsing the top of the buildings there. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacy is going to be along to tell us when we're going to clear up and warm up a little bit as we continue. Welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour. Tom Haynes here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom, joined by meteorologist Jonathan Stacy, who's been watching what's been, Jonathan, thus far, this post-holiday week, if you will, back to the grind, back to work, but kind of a gloomy week out there. Clouds were around yesterday, but it seems like it's more damp and cloudy out there even more today.
They just stick their heels in today.
Yeah.
Basically, it's this post-holiday malaise that we're stuck in. The temperature just dropped significantly right before Thanksgiving, and it has not recovered yet. We're generally looking at those kind of fluctuations in the forecast where we bounce back, or we at least expect the numbers to bounce back. That is not in my forecast. So let's take a look outside because that's nothing that we want to see no longer. It's just clouds hanging over us. Those clouds are not going to depart for the remainder of the day. That area of low pressure is on the move, though, as it peruses up the eastern seaboard. It carries with it wet weather on the southern flank, but on its northern side, it has been a proliferous snowmaker anywhere from the Great Lakes to the Midwest, Ohio River Valley, now into the interior northeast, and eventually New England tonight, getting some pretty hefty snowfall amounts, and this makes for the first nor'easter of the season up there across the northeast. Meanwhile, here at home, we're on the cool end of things, not frigid, but we're pretty chilly with temperatures in the 40s. In fact, we have only moved the mercury by 6 degrees since the beginning of the day. We started out at 42 degrees, and we're at, 48. The numbers will start sliding southward as we head to bed tonight. The sun sets and the numbers go into the 30s, and we'll wake up tomorrow morning with 30s on the board. 31 here in Atlanta, but step outside the perimeter, you'll find your temperatures in the 20s. But behind any good front is some hefty and high wind. And that's what we're going to be facing head on tomorrow, doctoring down that temperature. Therefore, your wind chill values will make it feel like it is in the 20s, even if the mercury reads the lower 30s. Your feels like numbers at 6 o'clock in the morning. This is Wednesday morning, 29 degrees here in Atlanta, 25 noon, and 27 Eatonton. Go up into the mountains where the winds will not be as ferocious. It will feel like 30 degrees respectively from Blairsville to Gainesville. But let's turn it all the way down. This is by 9 o'clock, and you can see here, despite ample sunshine, the mercury is climbing very slowly. After all, your Wednesday may not feel better, but it will look much better. We're bringing back the sunshine. It's just a one-day stay, a cameo appearance, and it won't do much for us. In fact, temperatures will still be several degrees below seasonal averages. For the third day of December, our average high in our neck of the woods is around 59 degrees. We'll fail to hit that by 7 degrees with a high of only 52 degrees, once again, despite the sunshine. Get it in if you want to do it outside, and it requires dry conditions. Get it in tomorrow, because by the time we get to Thursday evening, showers have returned to the area, and they will stake out over North Georgia as we go through the remainder of the week into the weekend. Rain chances spike overnight Thursday into Friday. Rain still sticking around for Saturday. We're not looking at an all-day period of rain. However, I think most of the day will be damp, and the signs are just not there that will clear out by Sunday. Fingers crossed that we could possibly preserve Sunday. Overall, Wednesday is my pick day of the forecast if you want dry conditions. The clouds rush back in along with a sampling of rain first thing Thursday. Greater rain chances in the forecast for the latter part of the day going into Friday. Friday is the dampest of them all, with most communities, especially on the south side, getting close to an inch of rainfall when it's all said and done. The weekend we're still trying to figure out, Tom, but as we go through the remainder of the work week, 6 p.m. Saturday, this is how much we will have added to the rain gauge. Today we got about an inch in Hartsville-Jackson. Add to that, make that an inch and a half. Go down south, Thomaston, Eatonton, running closer to an inch just with this next system. That does not include what you've already received today. So this is the way I'm characterizing December. December is determined to dig us out of a drought. I have not seen the skies open up in this consistent fashion since July.
So is December normally a wet month? Is that? It's
in between. It's one of those in between months. We get some wet weather consistently because the jet stream is doggone determined to move down south. And what we are seeing here, I do want to roll back here and show you one thing very quickly here. Don't look at the dates or the times, because that's not what I'm trying to explain here. Look at these systems. Yesterday's system, which bled into today, it originated in the Gulf, right along the I-10 corridor. You see the next one? It starts in the Gulf as well. This is the perfect track for winter storms to develop that give us hefty snowfall across the southeastern United States. So if the jet stream and the overall atmosphere continues this track, and they become nor'easters as they climb the eastern seaboard, but if this track holds strong, as soon as we bring temperatures down into the 30s, I think our threats for snow are going to go up. Now, obviously, the atmosphere will likely change before the month comes to an end, but any drastic downturn, that's why you keep on hearing us every day talk about, could there be a wintry mix in the mountains. And that's just going to be the nature of things as we go through the next couple of weeks, because these systems keep on moving in from the Gulf, making a path right through North Georgia before moving northward.
So you guys have been talking about how we've needed rain because we've been in sort of a semi-drought situation up until now, and I always hear that the rich kind of moisture that we need originates in the Gulf, and it looks like exactly what's happening right now. It's just pumping up from the Gulf and right over us.
It is our closest source for water, and it can be pretty hefty because it's juicy out there. What comes off of the Atlantic, it can be moisture laden, but by the time it gets to us, it's ran out of steam by and large. Most other systems, they come down from the north, and so they're carrying moisture all the way from the Pacific over the continental United States. So you depend on that system to stay together, fed by Gulf and Atlantic moisture. If those things can come right in from the Gulf, they have a short fetch before they're on our doorsteps. And what we're also seeing here is, you mentioned that, you're spot on, Tom, is that these are hefty rainfall amounts. Today we got an inch of rain.
Great.
An inch of rain. So our deficit when we started the day was 6 inches. Now you can deduct a point because we're down to 5.
All right,
December's determined.
We don't mind snow. We mind the ice. We don't like ice, which we get a lot of here.
Yeah, and that could be an issue. But overall, what we're looking at here, when those systems come up from the Gulf, they tend to be snow systems. It is those northward systems that end up being kind of characteristic of freezing rain.
Ice is a bad word around here. We don't like it because that means we sleep here, and we don't like sleeping here so much. Jonathan, thanks. As we continue, the Trump administration still working to secure those trade deals with a number of countries as it awaits a Supreme Court ruling on its sweeping tariffs. New report explaining that the impact of these levies are having an impact on world growth. Despite the sweeping tariffs, the world economy has remained strong, as has ours. The Dow almost hitting 300 points today in positive territory. A new report from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development estimates that the global economy will grow 3.2% this year, up from 2.9% in June. The group also raising its forecast for American growth to 2%, though still lower than last year. And the Trump administration continues to secure new trade agreements. What we'll all be watching for is the Supreme Court ruling on whether the president can unilaterally assess tariffs. And matter of fact, Costco, one of the big retailers, announcing a lawsuit against the U.S. government, suing for those tariffs to be refunded to the tune of billions of dollars. So that story making headlines in the financial world today, that Costco now suing the federal government for a rebate of those billions of dollars in tariffs. Of course, all waiting to hear what the Supreme Court rules and whether the president has the authority to impose those tariffs. SNAP benefits flowing once again following the longest government shutdown, but some food stamp recipients may lose out on those benefits after a new requirement went into effect on Monday. These requirements for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, could affect millions of food stamp enrollees. More people are now going to have to work, train, or volunteer at least 80 hours a month in order to receive monthly SNAP benefits. Under the Big Beautiful Bill Act, which was signed into law by the president in the summer, the work requirements will apply to anybody between 18 and 64 years old. Of course, that law going into effect after the new year. There could be fewer truckers on the road in the coming months. Nearly 44% of America's truck driving schools in the United States may be forced to close after a review by the Transportation Department found they may not be complying with government requirements. We like oversight on truckers because they populate so much of the highways these days, and a lot of people feel that they're dangerous. So, in my opinion, the more oversight, the better. So the administration's come out. They've been prioritizing highway safety since an illegal immigrant with a trucking license caused a crash in Florida, killing 3 people. Now the crackdown is intensifying as the Transportation Department plans to revoke the certification of almost 3,000 truck driving schools, with another 4,000 also in danger. Kind of a red alert, a shot over the bow, if you will, to these trucking schools that are teaching people to drive on the roadways. We want our truckers to be well educated. We want them to drive safely. We want them to stay awake so that everybody can stay safe on the roadways. As we continue here on another busy afternoon of news, I didn't know this, but speech therapy is something so critical to so many children. But what if you're a child in need or a family less fortunate? There's a great charity that's happening. It's really unique. I'm going to have a live guest here to discuss it and how you can help as we continue. Welcome back, everybody. So glad you're here with us, streaming on Fox Local, whether you're watching on your home TV, streaming us on the app on your mobile device, if you're on our YouTube channel at Fox 5 Atlanta. We're certainly glad you're here. We'd love for you to comment, post on any of the stories that you're talking about. We sort through and read all of the comments that you post. Or if you're on the radio with us, 107.9 HD2 FM, we're everywhere. And we appreciate you joining us here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom today. We're always on at Fox 5 Atlanta, bringing you the very latest news and information as it happens. You won't miss a thing if you're joining us here. I want to take you to Moscow now, where there's a high-level delegation in town to sit down with Russian President Vladimir Putin to try to iron out a deal to end the war in Ukraine. The U.S. negotiators have a very, very tough road ahead as Putin's army claims to have captured more Ukrainian territory. Russian soldiers waving their flag proudly as they claim to have captured the Ukrainian city. This happened just hours before the Russian president is sitting down with U.S. negotiators Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff there to discuss Washington's revised peace plan. Putin has drawn red lines, however, such as acquiring big sections of Ukraine and keeping Kyiv out of NATO. But President Trump has put his faith in his special envoy Witkoff and Kushner to lead the negotiation, the same team that negotiated the recent peace deal in Gaza. So the stakes are very high. This team is in Moscow sitting down with the Russian president. We'll see if they can come up with anything to end this years-long war once and for all. In the United States, attorneys representing Luigi Mangione hope they can convince a New York judge to throw out a key piece of evidence in his murder case. It's been almost a year since Mangione allegedly assassinated healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on the streets of Manhattan. The defense argues that the bombshell evidence in the case should be thrown out before that trial gets underway. It stems from Mangione's arrest in a Pennsylvania McDonald's, where police found a 3D printed gun, a silencer, and a journal with writings that appear to connect him to the murder, all inside his backpack. But his lawyers say it was an illegal search. Experts don't believe that argument's going to hold up. They're also arguing that statements Mangione made should be thrown out because they said he had not been read his legal Miranda rights. So a lot of eyeballs on this trial as it is set to get underway. A couple seconds ago, I talked about the importance of speech therapy in our nation's children. Maybe it's not something that your child is dealing with, but so many parents face that challenge. There's a lot of families who either have to wait a long time to get in front of a speech therapist, or they simply don't have the resources to make that happen. Andy Fraser is with the Scottish Rite Foundation of Georgia. Andy, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Good to see you. You are holding what is described as a unique fundraiser for families in need, seeking speech therapy for their children. Tell me a little bit about that.
Good afternoon. The Scottish Rite is an independent body of Freemasonry. The Scottish Rite Foundation of Georgia was established in 1980 to fund our Right Care speech and language disability clinics for children, and also to provide scholarships to students attending Georgia schools. This initiative was a way for Scottish Rite Masons to manifest the values of Freemasonry in our local community. Right Care specifically is a unique program funded through our foundation to help children with speech, language, literacy, communication disorders, including autism, learning disabilities. Our clinics are staffed by speech and language pathologists and clinicians who are trained to help children overcome steep communication barriers that would put them behind their peers in education. We want to ensure all children have an opportunity to reach their full potential, and these services are provided at no or low cost to families in need through the generous donation of the Scottish Rite Masons in the community. We are holding an event here in February that's going to benefit our foundation. Like many people here in Georgia, I'm very passionate about hunting, fishing, the outdoors, and this was a great opportunity to unite our outdoor community around the needs of children in our clinics and to bring awareness to our great charity. We have a partnership with Carol Sausage and Country Store down in Ashburn, Georgia, and the generosity of partners, Bass Pro Shops, Woods and Water Outfitters. We're hosting this raffle and barbecue festival that will be 100% of the proceeds will be going to our speech and language clinics and our scholarship funds.
Now, I'm interested, Andy, how the outdoor community and speech therapy for children, how did you marry those two? In other words, how did they come together?
Well, again, like many people here in Georgia, we're passionate about the outdoors. Most people that are passionate about the outdoors are also passionate about helping children. I think everyone is passionate about helping children overcome obstacles that would allow them to lead richer, fuller lives. And so we wanted to capitalize on that statewide, that local interest in the outdoors, and use that as an opportunity to bring awareness to our clinics.
Okay. Tell us how there are many families who have children that deal with speech type issues. Your charity specifically is seeking to mobilize families who can't necessarily get in front of a speech therapist right away when the need is urgent, or they don't have the proper funding or resources. Maybe their insurance doesn't cover it, or they just don't have the funds to get that done. Yet a child being able to speak properly and learning at such a young age is critical to their future well-being and success.
Absolutely. Speech therapy costs upwards of $400 a month. Waiting lists can be up to a year in parts of the state. Insurance doesn't often cover it. Families are forced to choose between work and therapy. Our clinics provide the financial assistance for that therapy. We service about 1,400 children annually. We provide support that is available for families without insurance or who can't afford treatment. And if you imagine the impact, kids who can't speak, they're now reading aloud in class, thriving with their peers. Imagine being a parent, hearing a child say, "I love you," clearly for the first time. And then with our clinics around the state, I believe we're up to 9 clinics now, they no longer have to drive 2 hours to Atlanta. Through our programs, children are gaining confidence, making friends, and succeeding in life.
Do you have any kind of personal connection to speech therapy in children, or have you seen firsthand some of these families coming into your clinics to seek care?
Yes. So we often see children that who can't communicate initially, and it's amazing the impact that the pathologists and the clinicians have. Personally, my son was diagnosed with a condition. Thankfully, he no longer has that condition. But this charity became very important to me when I realized that my son he's now 5 years old, could benefit from this. And seeing children in the community or even adults that may not have gotten the intervention in a timely manner and are struggling with that, it's become very personal for me.
Yeah, why is the wait so long to get in to see a speech therapist? Or is it just that when you don't have the financial capacity to access one of these folks, you're gonna stand in a longer line than someone who, say, may have the resources to pay up? I mean, cash is king in this world, and if you can pay, you're going to get in faster than perhaps somebody who may not have or has limited resources.
Absolutely. It is partially limited resources. It could be that at one time that there were only clinics in Atlanta, people coming from rural areas, that it was not feasible for them to travel to a clinic. Now we have clinics again throughout the state that service children in some rural communities that previously weren't able to get to the bigger facilities in Atlanta.
Yeah. Tell me how I can help. If I want to help, but I want to participate in the raffle, or I want to donate to this important cause. How can I step up and help?
You can go to our website. I would encourage everyone to go to the Scottish Rite Foundation of Georgia website, learn more about our clinics. If you would like to purchase raffle tickets, our website is www. Let me get you the right address here.
Sure.
If there are giving opportunities available on our website, Scottish Rite Foundation of Georgia.
Okay. Maybe something we can Google.
Yes, that website is www.gascottishrite.org. You can find all the information there for giving to either our scholarship program. You can also children who are attending Georgia schools can apply for scholarships there, and all our information is on that website.
All right. Such an important cause. Again, something that we may not think about each or every day, as a lot of people maybe perhaps don't have children afflicted by this condition, but who have children and can relate to situations that so many parents face, and who want to join your cause and help out. Andy Frazier of the Scottish Rite Foundation of Georgia, working for speech therapy advocacy among our state's youth. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. So happy you're streaming with us this afternoon. I'm Tom Haynes with you live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. You know, Georgia's foster care system is facing an $85 million deficit, and there are causes and charities out there working to fix that, to get kids not only out of the foster care system, but if they're in it, to find them host families that can help them. Our Chris Rosenthal is with one such organization who's trying to make a difference.
You know, there is an $85 million a year budget deficit in the state of Georgia for the foster care system. And the Wealthy Group, it's a real estate firm here in Atlanta, is doing what it can to help foster families. They have met here today for a brunch to raise money and collect toys and essentially adopt 28 foster families. And I talked with the founder of the Wealthy Group, Terry Marie Gleason, and she has a really special story about how she got into this and why this is so personal to her.
No, this is for a serious cause here, and talk to me about, this idea and why we're here.
Yes, so the foster care system right now in Georgia is suffering an $85 million deficit. I grew up in the foster care system. I know what it's like to go without toys, without clothes, even hunger. So being in real estate, I've been in real estate in Atlanta for 2 decades, and the real estate industry has just given me so much. So me and my amazing organizations, my great leaders, we decided to come together to help another nonprofit organization raise funds and a toy drive for foster care children here in Georgia.
Talk to me a little bit about your backstory, and you mentioned it a little bit, but just tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes, so I was raised on a Native American reservation in Oklahoma for the first 6 years of my life. After that, I went into the foster care system. I became an orphan. I moved around from orphanage and to several foster care homes. And eventually, I went on Wednesday's Child with my baby brother, and we were adopted. But on that Wednesday's Child, before I knew I was getting adopted, I received my first toy. I've never had a toy before that day. I was 8 years old, and I received a Snoopy doll. That doll represented so much hope for me, and I know that's what we're going to do today.
All right, very personal story there from Terry Marie Gleason, who was once in the foster care system with a real estate group called the Wealthy Group, raising funds for Georgia's foster care system, which they said a couple times is facing a dramatic deficit to the tune of $85 million. So hoping through this charity and Giving Tuesday to help make a dent in that budget deficit to help our state's foster care children. That is going to do it for us here in the 3 p.m. streaming hour. Thanks so much for being with us today on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haynes. The news continues. Don't go anywhere. Right here, right now.